Okay, let's talk about the housing market in 2026. I love Logan. I suggest that you guys check out his content. He used to do interviews and whatnot. He's pretty exclusive with HousingWire now, and you have to have a paid subscription to read his articles. And so I do pay for that subscription, and I'm not gonna read the article to you, but I'm gonna give you some of the highlights because I think that this is a very reasonable view on what's going on in the housing market in 2026. And I think a lot of this is driven by interest rates obviously being at a low right now. They've definitely been a little bit, up and down as rates tend to do. But you guys, we ended up 2025 in a pretty good place with interest rates. And just over the last few weeks, there's been some down days, but the trend has been for improving interest rates. And you couple that with the spread between the 10-year and mortgage rates, which we're going to talk about what that did in 2025. I've talked about it a number of times on this podcast because it was a huge factor that was keeping interest rates from being as low as they otherwise could have been. I will tell you, if that spread had not come down over the last couple of years, our rates would still be up in the sevens. To give you an example of how much of an impact that spread has in the overall interest rate. So let's just talk about the housing market. Now, here's the first thing Logan talks about, and it's inventory. You guys, I don't know if you're keeping an eye on it, but inventory is, he says, near normal levels. I think historically they are near normal levels. We see about a 4-month inventory right now on the market. It's nowhere close to the highs though that we've seen at other times where, we would say there was a lot of inventory, but we're definitely getting closer to more normal levels of inventory, which is great because it gives people options. And I think it does start shifting things more towards a little bit of a buyer's market. And I think you're feeling that. I mean, you see that with home prices, you see that with price drops and so on and so forth. So we're gonna probably have my buddy Anton on here, who's usually a regular guest that we have once or twice a year. We're gonna talk about what his perspective is on what's going on in the real estate market around this stuff. But nationally, what we see is inventories near normal levels, and that's very healthy. We haven't seen this for a very long time. If you remember, when rates were really, really high, we had such little inventory that we continued to see house prices go up, even though affordability was brutal. And so this factor alone is huge in making sure that things don't continue to get more unaffordable because there is more inventory, just basic supply and demand. So he talks a little bit about what his forecasts were, which were rates ranging between 5.75% and 7.25% in 2025. And I would say that was pretty spot on. And the range that he gave for 2026 is still 5.75%, but with a high of like 6.75, kind of in that range throughout the year. And there's a few X factors that could change that. So we're going to talk about those towards the end here.